Piano competitions. You know, this is a topic that I don't even think I've addressed yet on my channel. You know, for those of you that have followed me on YouTube, I've been on YouTube now since 2008. It's now 2025. That's a long time on YouTube. You know, I was on there early on YouTube. I've seen it all. I've done it all. And it's funny. I just was thinking, after the event yesterday, I was at a competition yesterday, and it inspired me to make this video and just to talk about a few things that I think about a lot and are dear to my heart as a piano teacher. My wife Marilyn and I are longtime piano teachers, as many of you know, and we were nominated by our local branch of the MTNA, which is here in our county in Florida, the GPMTA, Greatest Pinellas Music Teachers Association. I know it's a mouthful. Well, we were nominated this year to host, or to organize this local competition that actually has been going on since the 80s in our area. So it's actually a very well-established local kind of competition for piano students. This is what the program looked like here. And there weren't that many entrants this year. There were only 11. But there are 3 categories. The first category is 7th and 8th graders. The second category, category 2, is 9th and 10th graders. And then category 3 is 11th and 12th graders in high school. And I've looked at programs in past years, and they've had like probably twice as many applicants or entrants as this year. Actually, I was kind of happy because this was my first year doing this, organizing this, so I had to type up the program and do the certificates and organize everything. It was a lot of work. So, when I do it next year, it will be easier for me, of course. So yesterday we heard 11 very talented students from ages 12 to 17 or 18 perform 3 pieces from 3 style periods. Most of them were Baroque, classical, and romantic, although there were some contemporary ones on there too. And it was very interesting, very enlightening for me to hear young people play, since I'm no longer a young person. And I think back in the 70s when I was doing this sort of thing. Although, when I think back to it, when I think back to my experiences when I was this age, I don't think I did really any competitions. I can't even recall my first competition until I was actually in college, until I was a freshman in college as a music major, and I did my first competition. Okay, so as I was, just so you know my history, as I was going through my musical background as a child and as a youth, I don't ever remember doing competitions. I don't ever even remember anyone mentioning anything about like sight reading. I mean, that was something that's sort of a new kind of thing. Which is one reason why I wrote my book, Sight Reading in Harmony. But also I recall that the standards, okay, I don't want to sound negative or anything, but one thing that I've noticed, and that a lot of teachers have noticed, the older teachers who are, my age and older, really are kind of bemoaning the fact that the standards have gone down, not up. Okay, let me clarify that. The standards for piano competitions, actually in the large scale, things have gone up. Okay, so if you take the most prestigious of piano competitions in the world, like the Van Cliburn or the Tchaikovsky or something like that, the students, I was going to say, no, they're professionals already. Okay, so these are young people who are already concert artists in their own right. in some shape or form. They're not all equal, but they're all at a very, very high level. So what we're talking about here in this kind of competition, this is a local competition. Okay, there were no child prodigies. There was no one playing all the Chopin etudes. There was nothing of that sort. It was only the 12-minute, at the most, maybe 12-minute programs for each applicant. So they were not long. There were short pieces. Most pieces were 2 minutes long, like a Bach invention, one movement of a Mozart sonata, and like maybe a romantic piece. The most difficult things played were, I heard an applicant played a Chopin etude, Opus 10 number 4, and also what I want to talk about here, a piece, the first piece from Samuel Barber's Excursions. Okay, and then there's another piece I'm going to talk about here in this video. So don't go away, because I'm going to play a little for you too. Franz Schubert's first scherzo in B flat major. I want to talk a little about these pieces to sort of make my points. So anyway, getting back to my point, is that when I was a youth in the 70s and maybe 80s, there was the standards were higher. Without a doubt, the standards were higher. And this goes for the main average. Okay, so I'm not talking about the elite. So the elite up there doing the Van Cliburns and the Tchaikovskys, those are like the top 0.5%. Okay, so we're not talking about those people. The standards for the top people are going up and up. I mean, they're just getting better and better. They're just playing almost like robots. It's almost like AI is taking over. So everybody's just perfect. It's just the way it is. They're just so perfect now. But when you're on this level here, 12-year-olds up to 18-year-olds who are not, they didn't go to Juilliard. They didn't go, they're just normal kids taking piano. Okay, so there's no child prodigies, but there are very talented kids. And there are probably, out of this 11 in here, there are like maybe one standout in all of the 11. And then there were 2 that pretty close, I would say out of these 11 kids that played, the top ones were good. They were very good, but still they weren't really at that top level. And I want to talk about what makes somebody at a top level, or what can win you competitions. Okay, so if you are a student and you're not in the Van Cliburn or you're not in any of these elite competitions, you're in a smaller competition and you want to win it, what do? You have 2 options. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I had a discussion with the 2 judges yesterday, and we were just debating this issue. This is a very important issue, and I'm sure people have debated this for years before. What's better? Is it better to play something that's easier technically, but superior musically? Or is it better to play something that's harder technically, but really not very solid and pretty sloppy? Well, it's tempting to want to choose the second one, because I know that especially for youth who are in the high school age youth, and I was that way myself. I wanted to always play the hard things. Always the hardest things are the best. You want to play the hard things and impress people, and it's just not true. Because I want to demonstrate that with this. Okay, so there were 11 kids on here, as I said, and category 1, 2, 3. Now, guess which one? The unanimous decision, actually. Me and the 2 judges, and my wife for that matter, all agreed that if there was one standout in all of these 11, who it would be. Well, most people would think it's somebody in category 3 because they're the oldest, like you know, they're older than these category 1 kids over here. But believe it or not, one of the entrants here in category 1 was the standout of everyone. And the first thing he played was this Franz Schubert's Scherzo in B-flat major, which I really like a lot. And I want to play it a little for you. His performance of that was exquisite. It was just a exquisite performance. You know, it's the one that I think back to all the performances here, and I think that's the one I remember the most. That was so musical. It was so well done. And the judges thought so too. It was a unanimous decision. They thought it was this was better, much better than anything else that anybody played. Even the Chopin Etude, that's very impressive, which was done okay. Okay, that one of the entrants over here in category 3 played the Opus 10 number 4 Etude, which is very impressive. And it was good and fast, up to tempo. It was good, a nice, good performance. But it was not. It didn't even come close to what this smaller kid, this little kid, did with this Franz Schubert Scherzo. It was just musically superior. So, yes, the Chopin Etudes is impressive, but if you're going to play difficult music in competitions, like Chopin Etudes and music like that, you better make it perfect. Because if it's not perfect, you need to play something that's easier so you can make it perfect. And what I'm saying is, when I say perfect, I don't mean all the notes are perfect. What I mean is, when I say perfect, I mean you want to strive for your best musical, your perfect performance of it. Your perfect performance of it will be different from another person's perfect performance of it. But they're both perfect in their own ways. Do you see? When you listen to two great artists, like you listen to, I don't know, Daniel Barenboim, and then you listen to Ashkenazi. So you have Barenboim and Ashkenazi, two legendary pianists, and you hear them each play the same piece. Okay, they're vastly different. Vastly different. But you can't say, well, you can say, you can have an opinion. You can say, oh yeah, I like Ashkenazi. In this piece, Ashkenazi does a better job than Barenboim. But generally speaking, they're both masters. They're both perfect in their own way. They're not the same, but they're both perfect. So when I say perfect, I don't mean all the notes have to be perfect. I'm not saying notes. I'm saying, get this in your head. Too many pianists think of just notes. It has to be perfect. So if you choose difficult repertoire, and you're choosing it difficult because you think you can play it well and it's difficult and you're going to win because it's difficult, I've got some news for you. You probably won't win. There will probably be another little kid playing much more musically with an easier piece. I would much rather hear this isn't that musical? Isn't that musical? What would you rather hear? Would you rather hear that, or would you rather hear something like that? Well, it's not that bad, but what would you rather hear? Would you rather hear an exquisite Fir-Elise played where the audience just gets tears in their eyes, and you're just the most musical person? Or would you rather play a sloppy Chopin etude? Well, everyone would choose the former. So anyway, this 12, I think he's 12, this 12-year-old 7th or 8th grader came up and played the Schubert. And it goes like this. just so delightful. Bum, 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 bum. So he came out and he played this as his first piece, and it's hard to explain. It was so exquisite. Part of it is just Schubert's just such a great composer, so he makes it possible to make something exquisite. But if you played a lesser composition, it would be hard to do that. So the first thing is the great music. Of course, Schubert is great. We all know that. So there's nothing wrong with Schubert's composition. But the second thing is you need to play it musically. And so, out of all of these performances in here, all of these difficult things, it was this Schubert piece that won it for him. That simple piece won the competition for him. He also played a Mozart and a Bach. So he played a Bach and a Mozart, which were also pretty good. They were very good at a high level, but I don't think they were quite as good as the Schubert. The Schubert was just above everything else. And I think that we can learn something from that. We can learn that it's not better to always play harder things. Yes, work on harder things. But if you're a young person doing competitions and you want to win the competition, I think, and this is, it's not just my opinion, it's the other judges' opinion too. It's better to play the easier piece really well than the harder piece not well or less well. So let me go a little bit to this Barber Excursion piece. Okay, so one of the performers here in category 3, an older girl, she was maybe 17 or 18, I guess 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 or 7. I think she was 17 or something like that. And she played, she didn't open with this. She opened with the Bach Prelude and Fugue, which, was pretty good. It was decent in my opinion. A sonata, the first movement of Beethoven's Tempest Sonata, which was some very nice things in there, but not, I don't think musically at the level of this kid over here in category 1. And then she closed with the Barber Excursion piece, which it just stuck in my head all day yesterday, and I took it out and was practicing it because I practiced it before. I really like this piece, and I want to talk a little about this excursion piece just to show my point. So this is a harder piece, of course, more difficult technically than the Schubert, probably twice as difficult as the Schubert. But here's the thing. Okay, Barber marks it. Here's what the score looks like. Samuel Barber Excursions. Okay, these are well-known 20th century pieces. There's 4 of them, I think. Yeah, 4. So in the first one here, Barber marks un poco allegro, a little allegro. So it's not like presto. It's not as fast as possible. It's un poco allegro. But he also marks quarter note equals 144. And considering that there's a lot of 16th notes in this piece, going on for like about 5 pages, 144 is very, very fast. There are not very many pianists. Actually, there aren't very many pianists in this world who could actually play this honestly from beginning to end at 144. And I challenge you. It's not easy. It's not easy to do. And if you think you can, I challenge you. Make a video, put your metronome on 144, play this perfectly at 144 and send me the video. I don't think you can do it unless you're like, top prodigy or something. So 144 is just downright unrealistic. And this is proof that composers really don't know how to put metronome marks. They don't. Composers are notoriously bad at choosing tempo marks for their own compositions. So I know, I just know, it's a fact that this girl that played this was trying to play 144. She was trying to do that to please the judges because it says 144 here. Oh, if I don't hit 144, they'll fail me. So I got to hit 144. So I heard, you know, this very frantic, sloppy performance. I heard it was just a kind of a mess, you know. You know, just there wasn't any clarity, no precision. You couldn't really hear the notes. And I was thinking, well, what's more important? Is it more important to play the composer's metronome speed? Or is it more important to just play the piece like musically, regardless of what the composer says about his metronome speed? Well, obviously the second. Obviously. Even if it's really, really slow. Okay, if you came to a competition and I was judging it, and you took two performers playing this piece. One played 144 sloppily, and then the other played significantly slower, like maybe only 100, but really crystal clear and clean. It's the one that played 100 would win every time, hands down. It doesn't have to be 144. Composers don't know how to write metronome marks. That's just a fact. This happens too often in piano music. So one reason why I wanted to make this video was to drive home, and I know I'm getting really worked up because I do get worked up about this fact about tempo, is composers don't know how to write tempos. Just get that in your head. Then you have to figure out, well, if I want to play this musically, and I want to play it un poco allegro, then what do? Well, just play the stupid thing. Just come up with a tempo. Make it musical. So listen, okay, forget that 144, forget the allegro, forget anything. Just do this. You know, and it's been a while since I've really played this seriously, but you want to strive for that clarity, that precision. So what was that speed I played? Let's see what it was. I'm going to go to my metronome on my computer here. Okay, so let's try this tempo. That's a little of the first page. Now let me go to where the 16th notes come in here so you can hear the clarity and the precision in those. So you have, you have these little motifs. Now, if you make it crystal clear at that tempo, that's going to be the superior performance than trying to hit 144 at a frantic pace when you're missing a lot of notes. The keys aren't going all the way down. You're playing on the surface. You're not really getting all the keys to sound. You're playing the notes, but they're not all played at the correct weight. So in order to get the keys at the correct weight, you have to slow it down so you can hear it easier. You can only play as fast as you can hear. That's why I'm a big advocate of slow practice. So I know I'm getting worked up. I'm getting worked up over this because I want to encourage young people that are doing competitions to do it right. If you want to win a competition, you need to focus on precision, clarity, musicality. First and foremost, musicality. The musicality is a result of these things. It's a result of clarity, precision. Yes, hitting the right notes. But hitting the right notes is just step one. So you hit all the right notes. But then you have to make it musical, and everything has to be clear and precise. I didn't hear that in the Chopin Etude or this piece from the Excursions. I didn't hear that from the performer in category 3. But strangely enough and ironically, here's the irony of it. The irony is that this girl that played the hardest pieces in category 3, that it was good, very good. I don't want to put her down. It was a very good performance, but it wasn't as clean as it could have been. But ironically, she was the winner. But it was a very close call, and the judges had a hard time deciding what do we do, because there was another performer here in category 3 who played much less difficult music, but played it better. But it wasn't quite good enough, I don't think. The better for the easier repertoire here was not quite good enough to beat out the girl that played the harder music, less good also. So it was kind of a toss-up between those. But if you have to choose between what ultimately you want to play less difficult things, exquisite. Like Fur-Elise. I would rather hear Fur-Elise played exquisitely and musically than any difficult thing played sloppily. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts about competitions. I love hearing young people play. I love it. It brings hope to the piano world, because we're all hearing, we always hear like, oh, music's dying, classical music's dying, pianos are dying, But I don't think that's necessarily true. And when I go to these little events like these competitions, it really, it inspires me, actually. I'm really inspired, even though, these kids are not, they're not playing at the Van Cliburn level. That doesn't matter. The important thing is you're always learning, always striving to do better and to do your best. That's what you want to do. But if you want to win a competition, focus on the easier things played exquisitely, and disregard all tempo marks by composers. Okay, not tempo mark. Let me take that back. Disregard all metronome marks by composers, except me. The reason is because I know how to put tempo marks. I know how to use a metronome. A lot of composers don't know how to use metronomes. There's a large skill discrepancy in those who know how to use a metronome and those who don't. So composers who write un poco allegro and write 144 really don't know what they're doing, quite honestly. The metronome mark is way too fast for their tempo indication. So if you're a young person striving to do competitions, first and foremost, you want to play only things that you can handle technically and musically. You want to make that as good and exquisite as you can make it musically. And the second thing is, don't let metronome marks sway you. Don't be influenced by metronome marks. Never try to just play a piece and get it up to a metronome speed. Your goal is not to attain a certain speed. Your goal is to play musically. So anyway, that's my little rant today. So thank you for joining me, and stay tuned for more videos like this on YouTube.